I'm 82 now. There's a moment every morning that still catches me off guard. It happens before I've fully woken up, before memory has time to arrange itself properly. I reach for something that isn't there anymore. A voice, a presence, a reason to speak out loud. The house doesn't respond. It hasn't in a long time. I sit at the same table I've been sitting at for decades. Same window, same light coming through in the early hours. But the space across from me feels wider than it used to. Not physically, emotionally, like a gap that keeps expanding no matter how long you stare at it. Loss doesn't always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it settles in quietly, disguising itself as routine. You don't trip over it, you live around it. The mistake I made wasn't sudden. It didn't come with a warning sign or a clear moment where I could say, this is where everything went wrong. It arrived politely, reasonably. It arrived dressed as responsibility. At the time, it didn't feel like loss at all. It felt like patience, like discipline, like doing the sensible thing. I told myself I was choosing the harder path now, so life would be easier later. Later never came the way I expected it to. At 82, regret doesn't shout, it whispers. It shows up in small habits that no longer make sense, in chairs that stay empty, in conversations you rehearse long after the person who needed to hear them has stopped waiting. Some mistakes cost money, some cost time. This one cost me something far harder to replace. And the worst part is knowing I walked into it willingly, believing I had plenty of time to turn back. When I was younger, my life felt full in the way a calendar feels full. Appointments, deadlines, plans stacked neatly into weeks that blurred together. I mistook that kind of fullness for substance. I believed in momentum, in progress, in the idea that moving forward was always better than standing still. I rarely questioned what I was moving away from. The people in my life didn't feel fragile back then. Relationships felt permanent by default, not because I worked to keep them that way, but because they'd always been there. Familiarity has a way of disguising itself as security. I assumed closeness didn't require maintenance, that love could withstand distance, that connection would hold even if attention drifted elsewhere for a while. I wasn't reckless. I didn't intend to neglect anyone. I simply believed I could make up for absence later, that presence could be deferred without consequence. There was always something more urgent, something practical. Something that made postponement sound responsible instead of careless. I told myself stories that made sense in the moment. I'll slow down soon. I'll be more present once things stabilized. I'll fix this when I have more time. Those thoughts felt harmless, sensible even. No alarms went off. No one stopped me. Life continued smoothly enough that I never questioned whether something was slipping through my fingers. Looking back now, that confidence feels almost naive, not foolish, just unaware. I didn't know I was losing anything. I thought I was managing it. Time doesn't collapse all at once. It stretches, quietly, almost kindly. Years pass disguised as repetition. Days feel interchangeable.
You stop noticing how much has changed because each change is small on its own. The regret didn't arrive as pain. It arrived as dullness, as a growing sense that something once vibrant had gone flat. Conversations became shorter, silences longer, familiar routines lost their warmth. I noticed it first in moments that should have felt comforting but didn't. Gatherings that felt distant, voices that sounded polite instead of close. I blamed schedules, fatigue, life being busy. I didn't recognize those moments as warnings. I treated them like temporary phases that would correct themselves if left alone. Regret often grows in spaces where nothing dramatic happens, where there are no arguments to point to, no betrayals, just absence, slow and unremarkable.
I started carrying a quiet unease I couldn't name, a sense that I was out of sync with parts of my own life, that something meaningful was happening elsewhere, while I was occupied with things that felt important but left no lasting impression. Still, clarity didn't come, only discomfort. And discomfort is easy to ignore when you've trained yourself to stay busy. There wasn't a collapse, no dramatic phone call in the middle of the night, no argument that ended everything in one clean break. It was a moment so ordinary, it almost doesn't sound worth mentioning. I realized I was no longer part of someone's everyday life. Not because they pushed me out, because I never insisted on staying in. I noticed it in how plans were made without me, in updates that arrived secondhand, in the way my presence felt optional instead of expected. That's when the regret stopped being abstract. I could no longer pretend distance was temporary, or that closeness would simply return when I decided to prioritize it again. Something fundamental had shifted, quietly but permanently. I remember standing still, realizing that I had waited too long to notice what mattered. And there was no dramatic grief in that moment, just a heavy understanding settling into place. Regret became undeniable, not because of what happened, but because of what didn't. Once regret sharpens, it changes the way memory behaves. Ordinary moments resurface, carrying weight they never had at the time. Things you dismissed replay themselves with uncomfortable clarity. I began revisiting years I thought I understood, seeing them not as progress, but as trade-offs. Each choice reasonable on its own, each delay justified, but together forming a pattern I hadn't recognized while I was living it. I saw how often I chose efficiency over presence, how frequently I assumed there would be another chance to say what mattered, another moment to show up fully.
Meaning still hadn't arrived, only awareness. And awareness without action can be heavy. It shows you exactly where you went wrong without offering a way back. At 82, memory isn't nostalgic, it's precise. It doesn't soften the edges, it clarifies them. I wasn't careless, I was distracted. And sometimes distraction costs more than negligence ever could. The realization didn't feel like enlightenment. It felt like resignation mixed with clarity. I understood that meaning doesn't wait politely for life to calm down. It doesn't schedule itself for later. It exists in moments you either notice or don't. I spent years treating meaning like a reward at the end of effort, something to arrive at once the important work was finished. I didn't realize it was the important work. By the time I understood this, the cost was already paid. What I lost taught me what mattered, but learning it required losing it first. That's the cruel symmetry of regret and meaning. Understanding often comes packaged with irreversibility. I didn't feel hopeless, just aware. And awareness, when it arrives too late, is a quiet kind of sorrow. I don't know what you're postponing right now, or what feels reasonable to delay, but I recognize the voice that says later. It's persuasive, calm, logical. It doesn't feel like avoidance, it feels like planning. I lived my life trusting that voice. If there's anything I've learned, it's that the things that matter most rarely demand attention loudly. They wait patiently until they don't. I'm not here to tell you what to change. I wouldn't know how. But I will ask you this. What feels guaranteed in your life right now? And what would surprise you most if it quietly disappeared? At 82, regret and meaning live side by side. Neither cancels each other out. One sharpens the other. I can't undo the mistake that shaped my life. I can only live with the understanding it gave me. Some days that understanding feels heavy. Other days it feels like a quiet gift, arriving late but honest. Life doesn't demand your attention aggressively. It offers it gently, in moments you're tempted to postpone, in people you assume will wait. And once those moments pass, what remains isn't anger, it's clarity. And clarity, at the end of a long life, is both a comfort and a weight you carry quietly.